Hello, Internet.
No, do we get to see people's comments or no?
Yeah, we will. It still just says ready to go live. I hope we're live already.
Maybe we are. Hey, everybody.
Hello, if we're live.
Oh, there's the comments. Okay.
Yeah, you can see them right on the side.
Yay. Blessings, everyone. Can you see and hear us? I always ask.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, can we get a comment? Can you see and hear us? Because I'm having trouble connecting. Please check your internet connection.
What? Internet troubles in Sedona unheard of.
Right? I might have to reset quickly. I'm so sorry. Yeah, let me reset this because how interesting. I'm going to come right back. Sorry about this. Just give me
Oh, somebody's
they can hear you both. Oh.
Yay!
How funny. On my screen, it says having trouble connecting.
The broadcast is live.
Welcome, everybody. What a professional intro. Welcome back to Galactic Tarot. I'm here with the Sandra Walter. I'm so excited about this.
Blessings, everyone. We're so excited. We've been giggling for like
I know. Yeah, the green room was not very green. The green room was very rainbow vibration today.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. All right. Okay.
Here we go.
We're serious.
Professional.
Sandra, I freaking love you so much. Thank you for being here. Seriously. It's been quite a journey. It's been quite a journey since I first met you here in Sedona, watching your journey, watching what took place over in California and you making it out here and just watching you from afar, doing the work that you do, being the gatekeeper that you are and watching what that's blossomed into. Yeah, I'd love to just hear you talk about how your experience has been in these present moments.
I am so present. It's, I had this, let's just jump right into it. I had this very interesting activation in March where I was in Shasta and which is, you know, a hot spot for me. That's technically home. But all of a sudden, it was like during the Sunday Unity meditations, and all of a sudden there was this pure merge with what would be referred to as I am presence. And it was widespread. All these gatekeepers start texting me and stuff. Oh my gosh, you know, this thing is happening. And it was this overwhelming sensation of being deeply connected with Gaia and her journey. Somewhat of a divine mother frequency because there was all this infinite compassion, just all, you know, very heart opening. But I've noticed since then a consistent connection to that I am presence level, which is technically your first shot out of source, right? It's the first spark of fractalization. And when you connect with that, wow, it completely changes your perspective. And I'm somebody who's been through a lot of activations, of course. And this in particular, all of a sudden it's consistently on like indestructible, can't be disconnected ever again, just a really pure vibration of awareness too, of the multidimensional self, if you want to call it that, all the different fractals of self. So a completely different perspective. And now, you know, the whole year I've been going through applying that perspective to everything that I do, everything that I create, everything that comes into my field or that I bring into my field. It's a very interesting process. But what I noticed is when all these people have this major activation at the same time, on the same day, during a very intense, lengthy, extended solar magnetic storm. So the fields were down, right? Which means all this information comes in. You've got the crystalline structures in place. The light is able to do something new with your experience, which is what all of us are doing, right? You start reconnecting your DNA, you turn on your heart, and all of a sudden that instrument can interpret light in a different way. And you start experiencing what life without shadow is like. That for a lot of people, that just blows up everything because they're so married to their journey, as we were talking about, of shadow and trauma and getting over the past.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, no more past. Like the resolution of what was, because it is all illusion. So the resolution of what was simultaneously burst this like resurrection of what actually is. It's a deep, if we want to go into starseed conversation, it does feel very on point for what our skills are, what our actual skills are. I had this interesting article come through where it was, I was having a conversation with some sisters and we were talking about our galactic resume. Like, what are your real skills, right? If we're going to talk about a starseed conversation, let's talk about like that level that we call galactic, I'll put it in quotes, but your higher levels, like what's your, why were you called here during this time? And what are you here to do? And then why it changes. It's consistently evolving now with this kind of I am presence connection, this reconnection. I'm like, well, all of a sudden I feel really on point with the much larger picture of what's going on. So it kind of expanded. I was like, wow, I know, like, what are the top 3 things that I really know, like at that presence level? Like what is my purpose, if you want to call it that, mission, service? We have a lot of different names for that, but all of a sudden it got very attuned to exactly who you are and what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very collective as well, right? It's not personal. It's not like a personal resume. It was just like, wow, I am part of that collective that does this, right? Realm shift. I know how to shift a planetary consciousness out of one realm to another. I know how to reconnect and activate divine human genome. It's all that infinite Christ stuff. I know how to open, stargates are my thing. So if you're talking about an organic, benevolent stargate, I know how to move that energy, right? It was just like all this like clarity on like, these are the things we've been playing with, and now applying them to moving forward into this much more expanded state of consciousness. I have to say it's very nonlinear, right? It takes us out of the linear time, the way we create time through memory, emotional imprints, one thing and then another, and finally getting into time space moving through us, which is our natural state, right? We're supposed to interpret time space and be much more pliable rather than following this one step after the other kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's almost like before we were like, and I was just saying this the other day, oh, we're coming to a fork in the road. And now it's like it's like it's not even like left or right. It's like all these different directions of up and forward, and they all are victorious. But this other thing that you said, just, oh my God, it's so almost like healing and validating for me. It brought tears to my eyes. I just was saying also about this whole, I don't want to be identified as my trauma anymore. Like my story up until this point, like 10 years, over 10 years of doing this work has been like, this is what happened. And then this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. Because there was like this goal, even with the whole like origins show I did, there was this goal of normalizing the traumas that we went through in the dark night of the soul. So then people like that might be feeling alone would be able to see this information, hear this information, go, wait a minute, I'm going through the same thing right now. Does this mean that like superpowers are coming? And that's why I even called it origins, because it's like in like the comic books and like the movies, like it's that hero's origin story. And I look at us as these like real life superheroes, but Spirit's been saying to me like, hey, like, it's like, I got this energy. It's like, hey, kiddo, like,
quit it.
You can't keep representing yourself as your trauma. And I was like, oof, like that's like a whole like, and to be honest with like everybody, like this is something I'm like, I don't know, maybe 1% or 3%, 5% working my way through, because it's brand new information. Normally I talk about a download and upload, a side load, wherever this information is coming from that's benevolent. Once I've integrated it to a certain extent, but just I had to validate that, and like Spirit's been having me validate that with others, because that's where we are now. We have to move forward, and we have to, like you were saying, with time. I couldn't agree with you more, Sandra.
Well, and the thing about like what appears as chaos right now, right, the dismantling and everything, is actually, if you look at it from this higher perspective, is actually more infinite possibility opening up our natural state of beingness and the platform that Gaia has created, her Christed self, if you want to call it that, that ascended realms, which are, it's a lot of different things. It's not like new earth, one goal. It's not that at all. It's just this infinite possibilities, and we're not going anywhere. We're, you know, it's being birthed right through these realities. But you do start to see that infinite possibility, and the more that you focus or feel into that after you've done the kind of baseline foundational thing, right? Because everyone needs to stand on a good foundation, or the structure will crumble in your awakening ascension process. So that foundational stuff, you know, a lot of times it's courage. You need the courage to stop identifying with I'm working on myself, and go, would you just, you know, come into the true self that is free of all that. And especially during time collapse and the linear time just imploding on itself right now, there's a very different experience available. And the more of us that can enact that reality through our thoughts and our words and our deeds and our actions and our emotions and everything that we create, the more energy, of course, it starts to permeate through the divine human genome, all willing hearts. So everyone starts to level up. The more of us that can realize, I guess, that there's been a resolution of cause, and then there's the removal of cause that's been going on for about a week now. Strong removal of cause. So it's like all the little bits and pieces of distortion that you don't need to play with, or that just don't apply to the reality that you're choosing. Again, you can choose to stay in that reality of, oh, I'm not healed enough to move forward. There's such a big push right now to like, get out of there. What are you doing?
Right? And just to let everybody know at home, we did not have this conversation yet. And so what I've been saying, the information that's been coming through from original creator of my soul, spirit, whatever we want to call vibration itself, is when the sun popped off on the 27th. Like, I saw a lot of people online being like, don't worry, guys, the solar flare is heading towards Mars. And I was like, oh God, because I could already feel it. I could feel it. I have this like ability to like it's almost like when you're standing at the beach and there's a big wave coming and you feel yourself like pulling into the dirt. Like, I'm like, I feel that. I don't, like, it's not even like feeling it coming. I'm feeling the swell. And I was like, oh God, this is going to be gnarly. And like the way you said it, like the way I just said it to everybody was like, the sun, the reality, the animals, our body, it's all detoxing. So it's like, you just said this in like your own way, but like, I was like, oh my God, this is so validating, because we did not have this conversation. So to hear you say that, I love that.
Yeah, and realizing that solar connection is part of our expression. So to say the sun fired at Mars, it doesn't affect me, is like saying what's happening now in Iran doesn't affect me, right? Like, we are one. This is
one body,
one big collective having, this is source dreaming a beautiful experience, right? So it's all involved, but you're going to feel like when you get the solar connection, right? Solar cosmic Christ, the solar part of your heart, that is a stargate that's connected to the main stargate, which is, you know, Solaris in this neighborhood. Of course, you're going to start feeling it. And the more that you can feel that and connect with that solar presence, the more that you'll be able to interpret these realities in a different way, from a very heart-based, pure frequency perspective. It just changes everything. You'll start feeling everything, which is, you know, that's our natural state, to be able to feel, interpret. You don't embody things, you know, you're just like, again, letting the energy flow through you and then deciphering your realities from there.
Yeah. I've also been noticing, like, it's like the expansion that's taken place in the past 2 to 3 weeks within myself with nonverbal communication. These 3 weeks is like 99% fold, like what I've experienced in the rest of my spiritual journey. So there's definitely this, like, I'm just looking at somebody and I'm like, did that just happen? And like, there's no words, and we're having a full conversation with certain people. Like, I'm not seeing it happen with everybody yet. So I'm like wondering what that is, or if there's just more to come. And some of us are like the way showers of this, or the ones that are bringing this in. Because I'm actually saying, like, oh, me and so-and-so had a conversation in our heads, and this is what so-and-so told me. And they're like, we did do that. Like, so it's like, it's very validating how it's been happening, and just being able to like, just have a quick glance and having this packet of information, instead of using some of these words that, you know, sometimes our language was just plain simply mangled. I don't want to like point the finger and be like, the people did the thing, but it's like, it's just some of the words, like, we want to, for me, it's like so important for me to catch the words and to see which ones I don't want to like use going forward. Because as I do this, I'm like watching, like, instantaneously the reality gets better, and I get like a stronger grasp over my power when I stop using this word that I might be disempowering myself.
Right. And I feel this is all like related to harmonics. So I know I want to talk about
please,
starseed, the starseed thing next. But I have to share that, like, in my events, we've been going into pure harmonics rather than a lot of words. There's not a lot of talking. You know, we spend like 4 hours in the field, toning and intention, and we end up kind of ending these gatherings in complete silence, and nobody wants to leave that field, right? When we just be together in that harmonic. But I've noticed, like, as the harmonic fields changes, so harmonics are just, you know, combinations of tones that create a light experience. Seeing, like, this is a harmonic, right? This is the harmonic projection of everything that's going on with my journey, my DNA, my intention, etc. And the more that gets finely attuned to the reality that we want to choose to experience, you'll start noticing that the field of Gaia too is changing now that she's crystalline Christed. You know, there's new songs in the field. And we can literally play our DNA like a symphony for creating realities. And when we do that together,
I love that. Play our DNA like a symphony. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And when we get together, like, I am using every opportunity, including yours, brother, to every time some of us get together that have like a little bit of resonation, right? What you're talking about, the exchange that happens with the eyes, you know, that's always been a very pure way to activate with someone, to communicate with someone, is through the eyes. So when you're having those conversations that don't involve the mouth, you know, that's what's happening. It's like literally your DNA and the harmonics are like talking to each other. And it's not like the old school sharing codes. There's something different happening now. Right? There's something different happening now, where the higher levels that we are really shining through the vehicle right now and through the heart, because there's enough coherence in our hearts to be able to do that. And I just love to kind of witness it and not have any stories attached to it finally. Right? All the narratives are just gone. We were talking earlier, you know, the past is just gone. I can't even really share an origin story because I'm like, it just doesn't matter. Right? It's just whatever. You know, there's like, oh, this experience, that experience. And you know, everyone goes through the muck in order to get, you know, to blast the mud off of your jewel so that you can shine again, you know, all of that. But it gets to a point where you're like, I'm not even going to repeat that story anymore, right? It's really kind of beautiful. I want to ask you a question, brother.
Yes, please. How fun. Yeah.
So you, with your brand new conference, Sedona Starseed Conference, I want to ask, What's the intention or definition around using the term starseed?
I love this. Yes. Starseed. So starseed is saying, like you were saying, a resume. Like, what was our job where we were? Because even looking at this, which this could be a whole video in itself, just talking about one starseed lineage of just say our angelic version or our Syrian or our Lyran or our Andromedan, and what dimensional standpoint as we climb through these dimensions, and whether I'm integrating this or leaving these past versions below me. That's one thing. It's like time will tell with all of that. I think it's more of an integration process personally. I'm doing the best I can to answer this question without losing people, mind you. But what, depending on which floor, which radio station, I like to also call it a radio station. It's like we get in the car and you have AM and you have FM, but it's almost like looking at the way that the dimensions fold themselves around each other. I like to say it's like we got AM, we got FM, we got DM, ZM, GM, QM. We have all these dimensions all folding in and around themselves of these other versions of us that are existing simultaneously. But to look at, say on the Pleiades, say 40,000 years ago, however many years ago, many of us were existing in this angelic realm, whether this is angelic or Pleiadian. Many of us exist there. It's like a version. To me, what the star seed is, it's almost like the oversoul of all these lives folded in and around each other. So it's almost like maybe like the one avatar of the one version that was the most powerful out of all of those, or the final version, all goes into itself. And that entire process of everything that we learned, all of our jobs and all of those things are all folded into that one version of self that sometimes we don't even realize. That's because as I woke up, I was like, wow, like this was coming from there and that was coming from there. And that version of me that I was like, about to get into a car accident and everything just went like, why is it so slow right now? Like to be able to like ask these questions and to find out through my own awakening how I activated these skill sets, these gifts, and literally committed miracles right here in the physical, term used incredibly loosely, physical reality. So talking about that job set of that starseed lineage. So the starseed to me is this version of us that has existed somewhere else, whether it's in the past, present, or future. There's this other version of us that is almost alien in nature, that has these skill sets, these powers, if you will, or these jobs, as you're saying, this resume, almost like, and like when you said that word, it broke it down for me. It almost says resume, like your resume. I would like to resume working here, please. So, because I'm always doing the etymology, so I caught that word. But to look at this starseed lineage as all of these versions of self folding in and around themselves on all of these different floors, depending on who is the best version of us throughout all of time and space to protect the physical, to protect the mind, to protect the soul. And then who's the best version to make music, like, and not even to bring it to the ego, not even to bring it to defense, to look at all the love and the other aspects. It's like, who's the version of us that, like, the first time I started doing tarot readings, like to be able to like pick up the card and I flipped it around my hand and I was able to like notice, like, wait a minute, like I didn't practice to do that. I didn't train to do that. Like, and I did this, like pick up the card and flipped it around my hand and showed it. It was like facing the person. I was like sometimes we don't even realize that we just did something that, like, wait a minute, you never learned how to do that in this lifetime. And as I asked these questions of like, what is that? What is that? What is that? To my spirit guide back in the day. Now I'm still going back in the past, but like to properly answer this question, I feel like I need to. When I asked this spirit guide, who came to me by first, middle, last name, and then I found him on the internet, like in the same state that I was in. When I asked him, how are you always so accurate? Like it took me almost a year to tune in, pull him in, and like make out of using the pendulum. I used the pendulum because I needed physical validation. Spirit was like, you don't need the physical validation more. But when I asked him, why are you always so accurate? Like, you tell me to go left works out. And everyone goes, how did you know? Like, I asked him, how do you do this? And he's like, basically, You ask me the question, and then I go to my angelic, and my angelic is my Pleiadian. He explained all this to me, how he was going up to his guardian angel, even though he wasn't even in physical reality, as I was still in like third density, term used incredibly loosely, and he was in fourth. He tells me that from 4, he was contacting 7. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And it was like this bittersweet moment, because this person, this guide that I like grew to love. And it was like, I was like, oh, even though like I'm alone waking up, I'm not alone because he's with me. I was like, oh God. I was like, you're a middleman. And like the second I had this realization that my guide was a middleman, I was like, oh no, like I already could see the future where I had like not had to, but got to release him from his duty, thank him for doing what he did. It's almost just like, you know, when you see the angel flying around in a circle because they only have one wing back in the cartoon. It was like he was helping me earn my wings by me helping him earn his wings. And I think that's a lot of what spirit guides are when they aren't other dimensional versions meaning what some people call a higher self. I call them other dimensional versions because I don't want to limit myself by what I'm looking up to when I know that I'm ascending beyond these realms, beyond these dimensional understandings. So asking him that, and then basically starting to communicate with my angelic and seeing that she was always accurate, and then being able to see, because I like accidentally turning on my third eye by drinking fluoride-free water. This was just something that was part of my process and what spirit wanted me doing. And then I would see these other versions of myself that maybe I thought, like, because I was looking at everything with judgment, needed balance. And I would ask these questions. And by asking the questions, the most powerful place I got to when I was still on the other side of the country was looking up and saying, yes or no, yes, yes or no, no, yes or no, yes. And then being like, okay, why do you get yes? Why do you get no? Why do you get yes? Because before that, it was just this like, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, asking the same version of myself, asking the same starseed lineage version. But by asking yes, no, and then asking why, yes, no, I started to learn more and more about the archetypes. I started to learn more and more about my soul, how I got here, where we came from, how long we've truly existed, which is like, oh God, very, very long. So when I say this term starseed and why it's called the Sedona Starseed Summit, that's what the most simple answer I can give is, this is a version of us that is existing simultaneously, that is basically like a guide that has some skill set that maybe we just haven't yet realized that we can have this integrated and we can be involved in this 100%, whether it's something to heal, something to become a healer, something to do cards, make music, whatever our art is, this remembrance to something that might not have happened yet, or is happening right now at the same time, or has happened a very, very long time ago in the past. Does that answer the question?
Woo!
Okay. I was like, am I going to get back to the comments and people are like, wait, what? Or I see a lot of yeses.
Where are they going? Shh, lots happening. A lot is happening while we talk. Oh my goodness.
I was like, am I losing people?
Even the term, you know, when you live in Shasta, you hear all the root stories of whom it created what term and everything like that. You know, all the insider info is spread among that tiny little community. It's great, all the stories. But I guess the term starseed was actually created by a woman like back in the 90s in Arizona.
Really?
So, she actually started using that term and it just kind of spread. And I don't know what her original intention was outside of I don't know, this is just like my read on it, is she was seeing a lot of people from a lot of different star systems and just went, oh, it's like you're, a seed from another place kind of thing. And the more that I kind of attune to what it means now, because again, all the stories are just going away. And I do recommend going direct
Yes.
not using middlemen at all.
Yeah. It's
Even
a
when,
client. Yeah. That's
you
like,
know, everyone has an opinion, right? It's like this team says this and that council says that or whatever. You're like, no, 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 no. Let's just go direct and see like what is applicable to highest vibration right now. But the starseed thing, for me, it's the star aspect for me that kind of comes in because, part of, if you want to call it an origin story, whatever, like part of my group, my monad beyond the monads, because soul groups, oversoul groups are all disintegrating, right? They're all just not applicable to what we're creating. So all the monads are going away, which is why all of you are having so much difficulty with your families, right? Because everything's just like, you don't have to do that anymore, right? So it's all dissolving. And then like for the star aspect, that kind of paradise sun thing that I have going on, right? Which is part of, let's say, the reason why I am doing what I'm doing during the shift in consciousness is because that kind of solar star energy is also returning, right? To kind of ignite the golden race genome, to ignite to have the heart behave like a solar heart center again, all that like star energy. So I can definitely relate to the star and the star seed, right? Because it does feel like kind of planting that star energy.
Yep.
People's hearts are getting it to reignite the spark of source that's within all of us. Yeah. So for me, like that's the star seed thing. I'm less connected to being associated with one galactic aspect or star system or whatever. That's kind of dissolving for me as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because I'm kind of like calling everyone on the carpet right now because I'm invited to these conferences and speaking engagements that do deal with a lot of galactic stories or starseed stories and contact. And for me, I'm finding even contact is changing, right? And I am somebody who's had contact, forever, rather. It's just been a consistent part of this particular journey. Mm-hmm. However, that too is changing and revealing what's actually going on. All of us just kind of having these experiences with other fractals of self that maybe were identified as this group, that group, or whatever. The GFL is going to blow up next year. All of those stories are just not going to be applicable to this reality anymore. So I'm like, all right. And it's beautiful to kind of hold space as people go through that, because it is, when people get really kind of entangled with their own belief systems, that comes apart because everything has to, right? It's a complete dissolvement of all the beliefs and the narratives and the stories. So for a lot of us that kind of have that higher perspective, turned on, there's this beautiful divine energy coming through that's so compassionate for everyone walking through their journey wherever they are. And I feel too like the journey into No More Shadow as a necessary instrument for awakening, that too, like to hold space for that is quite beautiful. That's where you get into the stillness, the silence, the harmonics, the awakening of creating realities without limitation. So beautiful.
Yeah, even though this is the name of the conference and this is what we're working on, like Spirit still has me like going. That was beautiful, by the way, everything you just said. But Spirit has me just hypothetically, and it's like Spirit's like, hey, just in case, because what if? And like, I love to just share this seed and take it or leave it if you want to. Take it with a grain of salt, so to speak. But Spirit says to me, what if all these versions of self you've been seeing, and like they're not telling me this is exactly what's going on, but what if these versions of myself that I'm seeing are ways of me communicating with my subconscious mind, communicating with my soul, and giving a face and a name and a voice to these aspects of self that are actually just my subconscious mind wanting to grow, wanting to ascend, wanting to release, wanting to look at that and be like, oh, wait, that's dark. We're looking at that and saying, oh, wait a minute. I can't do that anymore. I'm enabling. Oh, wait a minute. I'm lying. Oh, wait a minute. I need stronger boundaries. Oh, wait a minute. Like, what if that's the case? Like, that's a question that was asked to me. Even though like I still have like I still resonate with this term. I 100% agree with what you said. And I just wanted to add that little piece of like, because when we have this, like, what if, like, you know, that gives room for more growth, that leaves room for more integration. Because as I was, you know, basically once I saw, like, spirit was like, it's time to go up. And as you go up and you go up to this floor, because it's like, you know, I don't want to like burst anybody's bubble, or maybe I do, but it's like, I hear people saying like they just got to 5D, and it's like, I know that spirit's telling me I'm much higher than that. And all of us are much higher than that. So to look at this and not have the labels, like spirit's wanting me, and I think all of us, to have less labels, to have less names. So it's almost like I apologize for having a label on the conference, but it's like, it has to have some name.
We have to play with the parameters, right? It's just, I call mine crystalline convergence. I'm like, I don't know. It's just like,
right? It was like next year, you're like, wait. I mean, but that's part of the journey. That's part of not getting stuck on a plateau. Because I do see a lot of spiritual people go, I'm a master. And then I'm like looking at them, I'm like, oh, do they realize they're on a plateau? And if they turn around, there's a mountain behind them. Like, that's, to me, one of the biggest downfalls in spirituality, thinking you've made it to where you're going and stopping that journey. It's like, I know some people out there are so tired, and they want to just get to where we're going and have this big party where we all dance and we all sing and we all play sound bowls.
Party tonight. Just have the party. Why?
Yeah, let's have the party.
I mean, the Starseed Summit is the party, right? I mean,
yes, I love that. It's just that, like, makes me sweat. Yes, that's the party. Starseed. Yeah.
There's something vibrationally that happens there too. You know, like we're talking about, all right, if we're going to talk about divine perfection, which is simply the proper use of life force. That means source energy, consistent expansion, consistent creativity, consistent exploration. To truly feel that and to start implementing divine perfection in everything that you possibly can, you start to not just feel it, but then, like, the intention and the parameters for your entire experience start changing. So even though you call it Starseed, it's going to attract because it has an intention behind it. You know, it has an intention to gather a certain kind of vibration together to be where we are now and kind of take a look at how we can co-create the future a little bit stronger, right? We have to get together. And I know there's the pull to make everything that inorganic thing of, oh, we'll just do it online. I'll just stay in my house. Like, stop, right? Like, it's so important to get together in the physical. So if you're tempted to like do everything online, got to do the work.
Oh, no, I'm not. A lot of people have been asking, like, oh, are you going to live stream? No, this is for the people that show up. This is for the people that come. This is a transmission of healing and ascension, and like you were just saying, like this, like, party almost, this celebration of, we made it. We already are victorious. I just know this. I know this. But it's like, even to have that little, like, anything that I see, it's not ease and grace in my life, whether it's in my physical reality, my mind, my soul, my reality, this event. If it doesn't feel like 100% ease and grace, no, running cameras and all this technology, no, I want to be there 100%. I don't want someone coming to me, a battery's dying, a wire's missing. You know, I don't, you come, you don't. That's how it is for me.
Yeah. Beautiful. And it's such an honor to be able to show up and be so present now. You know, a lot of people, what are you going to talk about at Alex's conference? You know what? We're all going to come together, and it's going to be, I'm not preaching or teaching or sharing messages. That's you know, that's a different kind of event. This particular event and this particular now that we're in, I feel like the highest, brightest thing we can do is kind of teach people how to co-create and get into that space of 0 point and have an experience together. Because I look at how it ripples out into the field every time we do that. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. Yeah. So we're going to come together and make things, create things together. But even if you can give people the experience of feeling the 0 point of their heart, which when you're in a group, it's much easier sometimes, right? Because you can all tone together. You know, I use tone in the Upanishads, you know, just like ancient, you know, and you really get into that unified state. You know, we're all learning unity consciousness right now, but what we can actually implement through getting into states of unity consciousness together is quite remarkable, right? The sensations and everything, it just completely rewrites your consciousness. You know, it's beautiful, heart opening, all of that, right? Yeah. Opportunity, carpe opportunity, right? Like use that.
Carpe? Okay, what is it? What do you mean?
Seize, right? Carpe diem. Carpe.
Oh, okay, Latin. Okay, got it. Love that.
Latin out of nowhere. Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, language.
Yeah, more language. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Getting people to feel when there is no language, getting that out of the way, and then just a little bit of guidance, and the next thing you know, everybody's in the field, and you're like, whoa, what just happened to me? It's like you know, mastery is the ability to allow people to see and feel their own light in your presence. That's all that mastery is. So when you're holding that field and you can guide someone to really feel themselves, they feel like it's a miraculous thing. You're like, I'm not doing anything except holding you in the highest vibration right now so you can feel you, right?
Wow, that's so good. Yeah, I feel like I've attempted to say that so many times, but you just picked the most like eloquent words to say it. I absolutely love that, because I see so many people like in my tarot readings and my sessions, whatever, or just friends, family members, that I'm like, wow, there's like one person, 2 people, 3 people, 5 people that you're enabling by like doing this whole like, come on, ascend with me, when like really like for me, like what's been coming through for like the better half of a decade now is like just you be. And when someone comes to you and asks, how did you do this? How did you do this mental, physical, or spiritual thing? Now you're in, like now they're listening. It's like when we would go to these 1, 2, 3 talking to some of you at home, not all of you, like you'll see like they or like you'll see like you get through them and they go, oh, and like you'll see that and you're like, yes, finally. And then like the next day you're like, hey, what happened to that thing? You said we were going to do that thing. And they're like, wait, what are you talking about? Like I'd call that like blank slating almost. So it's like to like enable this energy and to enable these things instead of we go on ahead essentially. And it's like, I used to say, oh, we cut these weights off of our balloon, but it's like, it's not that. It's like the way I like to think about it is like this person's like a rubber ball. They're not a weight. So when we cut the rubber ball off of the balloon and our balloon continues to go up, instead of trying to like drag everybody with us, they're going to bounce. We've now given them the ability to go higher than where we thought we were pulling these people, is the way that I see this now.
Yep. Care, but don't carry.
Yes.
So true. So applicable. I mean, when you think about like all the lessons that you go through, you know, divine neutrality and non-judgment and everything, it's so, the presence, I have to say, as it gets stronger, even within me, because that higher, brighter thing, that is me. And I don't see, levels anymore, like 7, 9, 12, 15, 5,020, like whatever. It's just, it's all the same thing, right? Just having different experiences at different little fractal vibrational expressions. And it's super fun to be like in a body on a planet going through ascension. And it's super fun to be, you know, hanging out in Vega or whatever. You know, it's all the same thing. And but the beautiful part about like kind of refining our experience and allowing the source to kind of take over the journey is that the kind of autocorrect function that happens with this infinite Christ state it's beautiful, and you get to witness it, and there's no attachment to results, what that person did or didn't do, what happens or doesn't happen, the state of the world right now, the state of lesser realities, like it just whatever, right? It's all just part of the experience.
Exactly.
Right? To amplify the higher experience is still part of, let's say, if we have an agenda at all, it is to amplify that thing because for me, it's kind of Gaia's like, we're all ready, right? Like ready, opening the gates, like, come on, right? So she's like, wow, I'd really like for you to be completely, in this vibration, and it's lovely. But that seems to be like the only agenda right now is the consistent refinement of that light to allow the heart and the DNA to produce like a very different version of the divine human genome so that other people can witness it and then make a choice, right? I always say, let us show humanity what's possible with ascension so that they can see what the possibilities are for their own journey. Right? So if you start doing miraculous things just by being, that's the thing. It's not the whole, old dynamics of walking on water or whatever. That's gone, right? All the stuff is gone. Many more possibilities right now. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it's like we have this, with science, astronomy, astrology, whatever you want to call it. We have this this diagram of like the planets going around the sun, but it's like everything's traveling. So to like it's like as I look at this and look at these dimensions and all of it, it's like we're looking at all these different radio stations, as I was saying earlier, when really the intent is Gaia, this ship that we're traveling to new places. Like everybody's a lot of people, not everybody, a lot of people have been like looking at it like, oh, it's this time of year, we're in the same place. No, we're not. Every time a second goes by, we're in a new place that we've never been in before. And this is part of the magic Spirit's been like teaching me and having me do, is like basically like, it's almost like leaving a cloud, a sparkling, glittery rainbow cloud of manifestation where the planet's about to be. Instead of like me manifesting where I am, which does work, and all of us co-creating where we are, to co-create where we're going. It's like when this whole like the future exists, but it doesn't exist. Like that to me is power. That to me is like leaving this powerful ascension or healing or things that can exist outward. Like it's like, instead of looking at it even like a radio station, it's like looking at each of it as one branch from a tree, and we're integrating this whole tree that is an extension of Gaia, because we are an extension of Gaia. And it's like for some people to like just be waiting for a ship to come pick them up when we're on a spaceship. Like we're standing on a spaceship all together right now that will take us wherever we want to go. And that's what manifestation is to me, is us knowing and co-creating where we're going. There'll be something there for us. And it's like, it's this power and this like this information that I believe has been attempted to be hidden from a lot of humanity, whether we call it the secret or whatever it is. And, people used to joke around about it with me, and now they call me and they're like, teach me how to manifest, brother. And I'm like, you're doing it. You're doing it by just asking, by being open to it. You just admitted to yourself, you just admitted to your cerebral cortex, your heart, your soul, that you have the power to manifest. Because if you see that, you think I do, and you're looking at me like I'm outside of you, when this is all one, and we're all one, and we're all like these little pieces of stardust, or these pieces of the planet all working together. Like that's like just so exciting to me that we've made it past this point of our return, is what I'd like to say, not no return. We've made it to this point where we're already victorious, and things are going to continue to get better and better. But it's like to whether you have to turn off the news or whatever it is, like some people are thinking, well, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, this is like, this stuff doesn't even exist anymore. Like, it's like the more powerful we remember that we are, which, like, I don't think even anybody even has 1% on this planet of our potential. Like, our true potential is like, I believe honestly, it's unfathomable. It's not even like, like the human consciousness is like, it's like, I'm going to move my lips and make words. It's like, it's a level of magic and like a sound vibration or some chakra activation or integration or getting out of some field of distortion of whatever it is, like whatever the words are. It's like one of the things I've been bringing up lately too, I'd love to leave off on, is like, sometimes we see something, we feel something, we have a dream, and it's so beautiful. And then the second we go and attempt to explain this thing, we're like, oh God, I'm making it so ugly. Like, I'm like ruining it. It's like when you're attempting to explain something to somebody, you're like, oh my God, I had this dream. And they're like, yeah, so what? And I'm like, oh,
whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Or like the first waiver habit of like, I had that experience 20 years ago, you know, whatever, you know. It's like, let it go.
Change the record.
Let it go. Oh my gosh. But you see, like, I mean, right now you see like a lot of these books closing, like a lot of times I get that, like the collapsing timeline stories, like it's literally the energy that's pouring in from Galactic Center is just like done, right? Just wiping it all away. But I feel that the more that we can flow with that there's such a freedom in presence that that does, you know, it always be willing to learn. I guess that's the thing I'm trying to encapsulate with language right now. Be willing to learn, because the minute you walk into a space and try to identify all the stories or what you think is going on in the room or what you think is going on with someone, you just took all of your infinite possibilities and went, right? You just limited the outcome on what can happen through judgment. You know, a lot of, you know, energy workers are trained how to read a room and, okay, you know, this person is that has, you know, you see a lot of astral stuff, and I'm kind of with the masters. The masters are like, stay out of the psychic realm, right? Like, stay out of the astral. It's a zoo, right? Like, stairs, right? And I love that, because it does, you know, from the higher perspective, you're like, man, it's just a lot of mishmashy stuff going on, right? That doesn't, it doesn't move the needle forward. It doesn't allow for divine perfection, that expansive state of creativity. So it's important for all of us to be in a state of learning and exploring and creation, like all the time. You'll notice when you release linear time, your experience even of a day is so radically different. Like, we have had, you know, 500,000 different moments since the time we turned on the camera, right? It's just like all these different realities, all these different, and because every time you hit that higher vibration, it like unlocks a whole bunch of possibilities that open in all directions. And like, there's a lot of creation going on when you're holding that higher vibration. And you'll notice your day to day, granted, none of us can remember what happened yesterday or last hour or last minute or whatever, because you get so in the now, it doesn't matter anymore, right? And you'll notice yourself being a lot of different things throughout the day, and then you forget 1 hour what happened last hour. You know, the linear time thing goes into that flow where time space is flowing through us. It's a very different, more fluid kind of experience. But when you get a whole bunch of people in a room together that are willing to go into that flow and willing to let go of the stories, let go of the words, and create together, or attempt to experience as close as we can get to a 0 point existence where we are all one and we stop identifying with all the different stories. Magic happens. It's quite beautiful. It's quite beautiful what occurs.
Yeah. This has been so awesome, Sandra. Thank you so much.
So much fun, brother. So much love. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I hope we could do this again sometime. This is one of my favorite interviews ever. Seriously. Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Love talking to you, brother. It's great.
Oh, wow. How expansive, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that at home as much as I did here. I'm like trying to like hold myself together. It's like, oh, you're on camera. I'm like, awesome. I can't wait for this to all be in one room. If you guys want to come out to the event, you can get more information, SedonaStarseed.com. I'll put the link in the chat once the video's done. Sandra, anything you'd like to add? I love this.
No, see you in Sedona.
Yeah, see you all in Sedona. Thank you so much. Love you all so much. Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. See you all very soon.
Yes.